Welcome to another episode of the MineConnect USA Series. Today we have Jannatec Technologies on. A very cool company, lots of technology that people will recognize, but of course they've got a very enhanced version of it. And so we're going to have the president, Rey Boucher, on. He's going to cover some of their technologies, some of their expansion plans, including into the US. And a little bit of his background. So it's going to be a multi-layered interview. We're going to cover lots of ground. Rey, welcome to the show. Very good to have you on, and good to meet you. We're just meeting now.
Nice meeting you.
Have you done a lot of these long-form discussions, or is this a new thing?
No, it's a new thing. I feel like I'm on a Joe Rogan episode right now.
Oh, we have a couple million less views. I will say, just for complete transparency. I heard you saying in the beginning, you've got these cool. I actually looked up the type of glass, like somewhere we could get our logos like that. But then I heard you saying that's actually it's actually a different logo now that you've updated.
Yeah, we just updated our marketing as well as our company logo. We've went more towards a non-specific logo. Like this is more the logo behind me is more mine related
Right.
than anything. It's basically depending how you look at it. If you look at it, some people see a sailboat, some people see a miner's cap lamp. It depends how you look at it, but it's intended to be a miner's helmet with a cap lamp facing downwards.
I think every miner must use the cap.
Yeah, and it was intended to be more specific, where the direction of the company is being more broad in technology and safety, and we changed our logo to appropriately to represent what we're doing.
Well, and I'm not surprised to hear that because I was looking at some of like even your helmets, and we'll get into those more specifically in a moment. But I mean, those seem applicable to a lot of different applications outside of just like maybe an underground mining or something, a standard thing that would come to mind.
Yeah, yeah. The intent of our product line when we first started the evolution of Jannatec, we started off in a paging company. And with time, and technology changes, and we all know how fast technology changes. It went from paging company to two-way radio company, and then at that point, the company got involved into selling two-way radios, and then went into a mine. And the mine said, "I'm having this problem, and it's people walking away with two-way radios during hunting season, or they get lost during the day, or whatever." And there's another thing to carry on the miner's belt. And lo and behold, a person by the name of John Gill from Ballet at the time asked us, "Can we integrate the two together?" And we went away, and that was our first. I called it our first IoT product before the word IoT was even coined, and that was a collaboration of a Motorola product inside of a shell that we designed to safeguard it, added more battery capacity, more feature set within the radio, and then Jannatec was basically on the map for the niche product that we're in. And then we were recognized as the cap lamp company, where Jannatec was always more than just a cap lamp company. We're an innovation company, and we always develop new products for safety and communications as well as IoT space.
I wanted to mention it's a little off tangent, but valet comes up a lot in these interviews, and I will say they're not sponsoring this episode or anything like that. They just come up a lot when innovative companies come on. They'll mention valet quite a bit, along with other companies, but they always seem to be part of the list. Is that specific to them, or is it just sort of happenstance that's coming up?
It's happenstance, really. If you look at the Sudbury Basin, where our company's headquarters are, is basically like the mecca of mining for Canada, and think of it as the Silicon Valley for mining.
Mm.
And a lot of companies has sprung or came to life based on the needs of mining, not only for Valley but for Glencore as well.
Yeah, they come up
the
too.
two major companies here in the Sudbury Basin, and requirements came out of that. And as requirements come, companies like ourselves become innovative, and we try to answer their problems by developing new products for a long-term partnership with them. And Valley is one of our clients, so is Glencore, among other people in the Northern Ontario Basin for mining. And then it reaches out even further now that we have more of a global presence through our partnership. We're owned by a larger conglomerate company called Schonberg,
Right,
out of
I didn't
Germany,
know that actually.
which extends our reach globally.
Right, yeah.
Through them. But for Jannatec proper, we decided, it's time for us to move up one more step, get out of our niche environment, which was just purely mining, and diversify and expand into other countries as well as other new verticals as well.
Can we stick with the mining for a second? Because I want to sort of tie those other sectors into it. Is there a few pillars of your company? Is there one that's your main driver still, just within the mining space?
Within the mining space, we do have a couple of pillars, and one of them is the cap lamp industry, where the technology came in the collaboration of the radio, two-way radio, and the battery technology that we're known for. And the cap lamp is just a byproduct of that device that we added a cap lamp to illuminate the pathway for workers underground because you need light. And that was a big thing for the mining industry. It went away from the lead acid battery type of cap lamps to lithium based batteries and offering more of a platform to integrate third party RFID chips, third party asset tracking into one package. And that's what we call our first IoT device, which is our G3 platform radio. Um, and that was kind of the innovation part
Uh,
that launched Jannatec.
I want to go over to the helmets because they're cool, and I'm sure you get a lot of interest because of them. What are their capabilities? Because it's not just I noticed when I was on your website, it looked sort of like that you could kind of build them out, maybe, or I'm sure you're selling them in like a bulk to an operating mine. So it seems to be a few different things you can implement in depending on the need.
It is. We like our other products. We decided about 5 6 years ago that we needed another vertical within the mining sector as well as something we can parallel into another vertical. And we developed what's called the VMAP platform. And the VMAP was intended to develop a platform where you can change the first letter. V stands for vehicle, H stands for helmet, and offer that platform in
Mm,
different packages. The helmet is one of those packages we call the HMAP, and is basically we, the industry was running out of places to put tags for RFID, for asset tracking, for
mhm,
communication, or for because the demand was increasing. There's only so much real estate you can put into a cap line without being too heavy on a person's neck, and he's got up and down motion and whatnot. So you're trying to avoid long term injury. So the natural progression to that is where else can we put on the body that has the highest space on you so that you don't have any interference from your own body electronically. And the helmet was a natural progression. Now there's various manufacturers of helmets out there that they've been using for years and years, but none of them uh, lend well to incorporating electronics inside a helmet.
mm,
So it's always an adapter you glue on and whatnot. And there's a lot of rules around what you can and cannot do with a helmet, including adhesives to the helmet, painting a helmet, or attaching devices to it. So we got on a bandwagon and got into a project with SEMI, which stands for Center of Excellence Mining Institute, to develop a wearable. And the wearable was constituted of two things. One was a cooling vest for extreme heat conditions, and the other one was the wearable part, which is the helmet, and that was to carry technologies. And out of that whole project, which lasted 5 years, a commercialized product needed to come out of it. And our contribution to it, we contributed to that as well. And we're talking over a $5 million investment for a small company like ourselves
oh,
to develop a platform to enhance health and safety PPE equipment for an individual, as well as safety equipment for vehicles. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the proximity side. But all our technologies are intertwined. So on our vehicle technology is the same technology, brains, let's call it, that's in the helmet, and they talk to each other. Now the helmet is cool because we needed something to put on a person, and we realized that we can't do it with a normal adapter or whatnot. We would have to get on and develop a different platform to allow us to put our technology battery in there and maintain safety, which is the biggest part. And to do that, you either partner up with companies like who manufacture helmets like MSI or whatnot, but they they have their own technology roadmap. So we ended up developing a smart helmet, and the smart helmet was basically a plastic shell, and the brim over top is where the magic happens,
mm.
and that's where we house all our electronics. So we ended up manufacturing a full blown helmet which is CSA Type 1 and Type 2, and electrically rated. And what does that mean? That means now we have a platform to put all our electronics in it for communication, for tracking the individual, for proximity systems, so that a vehicle can be notified when an individual is walking towards a vehicle or away, or maybe popping out from somewhere. And that means a lot of devices that consume a lot of power. When you consume a lot of power, that means a bigger battery. Well, if you package all that together, you end up with a bigger component you need to stick to the helmet, and that wasn't happening in the industry.
Mm.
We were told by our clients, they'll never be able to put that on a helmet because of the weight and whatnot. Our goal was to end up manufacturing the helmet in a tiered fashion, and the tier one was basically a high visibility. So we have LEDs all the way around the helmet that you can see at afar. Now, underground or even on surface, when you look at somebody wearing PPE with reflective tape, it's only good for around 60, 65 feet, depending your lights hit it. If your lights don't hit the reflective tape, then you don't see anything. Where the LED, you can see this, and we tested this underground, and we went with blue because it cuts through black quite well. And you can see these like 100, 150 feet very easily in the dark environment. And then you can tell if that there's a person there compared to maybe a light that's reflecting something, or a piece of metal is reflecting something. You know it's an individual. It's not a guesswork anymore. You know it's an individual. Tier two was in the introduction of RFID and asset tracking within the helmet. And that was our tier two side. Then we put a third party tag, which is there's lots on the market, and we work with all of them to put the asset tracker tag in the helmet. And then we introduced our own proximity system, which is what our vehicle safety system is. It's our Smart View,
Mm.
and that basically is a vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to personnel interaction safety system. So it's is the vehicle. Think of a bubble around a vehicle. If another vehicle comes near the bubble, it notifies the operator, "Hey, there's something coming towards you. Is it a person? Is it a vehicle? Or is it another heavy hauler?" All that is displayed on the screen for the operator. So it's all about increasing awareness for the operator and the individuals. And why we're very proud of it is that we're one of the only systems that allows bidirectional communication between the helmet and the vehicle, so that not only the operator knows there's something around, whether it's a human or another vehicle, but the person itself gets indicated by a little light on the brim of his helmet.
Mm.
It turns on, letting him know that there's a vehicle pending around his area. He doesn't know what kind of vehicle, but he knows there's a vehicle. And all you need to know is there's a vehicle around there. So you take precautions. So that is kind of where the helmet comes into it. The third tier is where we're going to introduce in the future. We're not there yet. It's basically a full cell phone in a helmet, and along with a camera. And that was intended for other markets like inspection. Let's say an inspector had to go do an inspection
Mm.
on the electrical panel, and he wasn't sure of what's going on in the panel. He can actually call the manufacturer from his helmet, turn on his camera, and say, "I'm going to turn on my camera and let you see what I'm seeing."
Right.
He basically becomes the eyes and the ears for the manufacturer's rep, so the specialist. And the manufacturer's rep can, through him, guide them to do a certain action, or tell them to inspect something else, or turn off something. So that is something that is there's not a lot of people doing it in
Mm.
the industry. You could do it with a cell phone now, but you got to hold a cell phone, like
Yeah.
this with a
Yeah.
light, and
Yeah.
sure you got glare, and then you got to use your two hands. So we're becoming a hands-free type of system for workers,
Uh,
and it's increasing the awareness of workers in the
uh,
industry.
just to, I want to go to the collision avoidance, and I mean it's just a natural progression to get into that. But before
Mhm.
we do that, I would just get the helmets. Jumping over into the other industries, there seems like the detection on it within the helmet on a construction site. Our studio's right near where they're building a massive bridge over the Fraser River right now. Just a massive project,
Yeah.
and you're watching this thing going up. Yesterday, I actually won't say what I saw the guy doing. I don't want to get a young guy fired, but it didn't seem right to me. And it one thing that was happening was that an item was basically being rolled, um, and it didn't seem like it was safe. There's vehicles going around, and I'm watching this project. There's so many moving parts, and I'm seeing different brands on different companies. Um, so these all these contractors are out there doing their different roles. Then there's the city that's having to coordinate. There must be an opportunity. Is that what you mean by like other like expanding it beyond mining?
Exactly, exactly. The potential is unlimited, really. We're looking at targeting shipyards. We're looking at targeting
Mm,
construction, large construction projects, small construction projects, road work, especially at night. The road work there with the high visibility would be
that
highly
seems to me
tremendous.
a
Like how
really
many times
high, yeah,
have you
road
driven
work.
down a large major highway and there's
Yeah,
doing road work at night, and you're cruising along around 80, 90 kilometers an hour, and somebody pops up on the left hand side. You know, you're going around a barrier, but you don't see them to the last minute,
yeah. Or
and just
corners,
this
right?
just
Their
brings the safety
lights.
awareness up for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I've because in construction specifically, I'm glad you brought up road work because a corner, I've seen it. I mean, I've worked in the construction sector, so I'm aware of it maybe more so than some people when they're driving through them. But if you go on a corner and someone's working on the other side, your lights don't pick them up. Like you said, they're reflective tape.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so and they're not getting warned either because your lights are especially with, like, electric cars. I had somebody
Oh yeah, you
I
can't hear them.
yeah, when I had an electric car, or like a hybrid, I drove up behind someone. It was a smooth surface in our underground parking. I was 3 feet away from the person, and the person had no idea I was there. They turned around and my car was sitting there behind them. No idea I was
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
And then with the advent, they're introducing electric vehicles underground and mining as well.
Yeah.
For us, it's great for reducing the carbon footprint, but you're introducing other things that
Silence.
we maybe we haven't really thought it out,
Yeah.
right? So you have an electric vehicle that creeps up behind you, like you just said, and you'd be surprised when when you're working underground, you have your earmuffs and you're
Yeah.
walking. If there's no lights, you can sneak up on somebody. You can feel it coming down because it's a large piece of equipment, but they can sneak up on you quite quickly.
Um,
And having that advance warning, can mean the difference between a life and death situation.
Yeah, and that feeling of safety and just
Yeah,
people going to work, and it's just on the collision avoidance. Can you expand? You know you've touched on it a few times, but can you expand on it a little bit more? Just what that system, because
sure.
that's obviously a major
So,
part
so
of your
we
operation.
started about over 20 years ago developing our proximity system, and it was based on um, one of our lead engineer here, Jason Bowie. He comes from the GPS world, and he came in and said, we can invent something that'll talk to each other and prevent injuries, or at least notify the operators, hey, slow down, there's something happening.
Hmm.
So, in a very rudimentary way, we invented it over 20 years ago, and it was nothing more than a box with a bunch of LEDs. But with time, with the evolution of technology and all these nice little gadgets that come out for visualization tools, we created a second version of it, which is a small 4-inch screen, and that gave the operator to see, is it a primary mover, is it a person,
Mm.
is it a light vehicle, or is it a hazard? So we were able to augment that I'm going to say reality, but that awareness form to know exactly what was around instead of an LED blinking. We then thought, okay, well, what else can we do with this thing? And technology evolved, and we were very successful in implementing these over 7 mines, and from Boise Bay all the way to Thompson, Manitoba, and putting these things. And he said, okay, the next step, and we're talking following. There's no standard, but we're following what's called EMERS, and there's different levels. We're currently at a level 7, 8 between the two. Level 9 is when there's collision avoidance, meaning the vehicle will do something to stop.
Right. Okay.
Level 7 is basically an alert, so a tone, and the level 8 is basically when the system alerts you, but also suggests to do something,
Mm.
either slow down or stop. But it's still up to the operator to do that functionality. A level 9 is basically
You got
um,
a lot of little
the
signals.
vehicle. Sorry about that.
No,
It's
no worries.
basically the vehicle um, uh, stopping by itself based on a condition.
Hmm.
So let's say if I see another vehicle and he's coming at me a certain speed, and the computer thinks that, hey, they're going to hit each other, one of them's going to stop or they're both going to stop, and is going to be done by itself. So basically, all the amenities you see in your everyday vehicle you have now.
Right.
So you go buy a new car that may have proximity detection, adaptive cruise, let's call it, and they're intended to drive on the streets, give you all the information in a central location so that you can be more aware of your situation. such as backup cameras, proximity detection, alerts of your tires if they're low, you name it, everything that you can have in a car. That was our intention to modularize our platform and basically give the basic package, or not give it away, but sell it to individuals, and they can add on with time if they need to add on these modules. And that's exactly what we did with our Smart View. So we've taken our proximity system, which was a standalone unit,
Mm,
and made it into a modular platform, basically following basically IoT, so Industry of Things. So we started off with proximity. We've evolved to collision avoidance. That's our level 9. And the next step is now to introduce the other modules, the backup camera, which we're starting to sell now,
mm,
TPMS, versus tire pressure monitoring system. The operator can see it on the screen. And why is that important? If you take on average an industrial vehicle, a large tire on a vehicle can be anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 for the vehicle, plus the downtime the machine is down. So he's not going to get a flat in the parking area or marshalling area. He's going to get a flat out in the field.
mhm,
So if he's down, he's got to get now towed back to a shop where they can change the tire for him, and that's downtime. Downtime in an industrial setting. Let's pick on mining. You could be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour downtime for that machine to be out of production. So that's why it's important to know these things. If the tire is going down low and low, he can actually drive uh, to the shop and have it looked
mhm,
at, or schedule a time to have it looked at, so that you don't have unforeseen downtime. It's okay to have foreseen downtime where it's scheduled. That way you plan around it. But it's when it's unplanned, that's where cost gets into play. And the beauty of this thing is that it's important to understand operators and mining operations. There's a lot of people developing products out there, but not understanding the cycle of mining. And the true winning companies here will be the people who understand mining
mm,
and cater to answer those help calls from the mines. And that's kind of where the beauty of Jannatec is that we thrive on innovation. We've always thrived on innovation. We always look for opportunities that we can help our clients. And yes, there's something coming out of it that we will commercialize, that get to the market. But that's out of necessity, that if we deem this necessity for the environment, and we think there's a business case out of it, then we will go ahead and develop it. And primarily it's for safety and production. And that's kind of where the direction of Jannatec's gone. It's gone from a small company just building a cap lamp to a larger company creating IoT devices for the industry.
mhm.
And we thrive on innovation. We have our own R&D department here that we look at these business cases and we evaluate them. Hey, this would be great for not only this client, but it'd be great for everybody. And how can we roll this into our platform?
Mhm.
So we end up making a lot of partnerships with different suppliers
Mm,
in the industry, because we can't be a master of everything. We could be a master of our own technology, but we end up partnering with other suppliers such as Valor, TPMS, Rimex is another one. We partnered also with a company out of Quebec called Track Weight, which is monitoring the weight of the vehicles per axle. And that technology goes into mining, construction, highway trucks, and our ambition for that is to be one day, instead of you see the trucks and they pull into the weighing station, to have it on a vehicle and
mm.
send that information as he drives by the weighing station, so he doesn't have to have downtime.
We've talked about sort of I don't think they're add-on products, the helmets and the collision avoidance and that, but I think this is my very basic understanding. It sort of all ties back into your smart view system. Can you, now that we've sort of covered the sides, can you unpack that sort of middle where that core where it's all coming back to for Janatech?
Sure, sure. The SmartView platform basically is our core, and it is our flagship product. And what we mean by that is that it is the brains of the system. And the brains of the system is like yourselves. You need to have a central brain to control all your movements. And the same thing goes for SmartView. We developed SmartView as the platform of choice to be able to tie on extensions, which the helmet is an extension to that. And all the SmartView is gathers all the information from all these different little subsets and extensions, and computes it and then spits it out in a visual format
Mm,
for an operator to understand what's happening in his immediate area. So it's all about increasing his situational awareness. And to do this, you need to have multiple inputs, and you need to have a brain that takes all this information, computes it, and spits out something intelligent for you to
Mm.
see. So that's kind of the whole um, um, focus of SmartView, was to be able to give all that information in a package that a human can understand without being overwhelmed
Right.
by information and technology. And the key part of it is that it's centralized into one. And some people say it's bad. Some people say it's good that we do in all in one. Some people say, well, if it's all goes down, everything goes down. There's backups to the backups that we've rolled into the SmartView.
Hmm.
But the brains part is that sometimes in the military it's called helmet fire, where there's too much information from coming different screens here and there,
Right.
and the guy's just trying to make all kinds of decisions while maintaining controlling his vehicle. And that would led us to do centralized computing. And have you heard of edge computing? And that's where the industry is going. It went from localized equipment to the cloud, and it went from the cloud. Now the cloud's being overwhelmed. Now it's going to edge computing. SmartView is an edge computing device.
Mm.
It gathers all the information, computes it, spits out an information to the local operator. Meanwhile, cataloging all this information. And if there's a network underground, whether it's Wi-Fi or 4G, spits that information out to a central database.
Mm.
And that's kind of the beauty of it. It is a edge computing device where it collects all this information from extensions. One of our extensions that we had to develop our own was the helmet. Otherwise, we're relying on third-party information, like information from the vehicle, which is called telematics. Information from the tires is called TPMS. Information from backup camera, that's a backup camera that we can display on the screen when he's in reverse. So he has an awareness of what's happening behind him. Um, there's a lot of application that we can now introduce and put on. We also allow our clients to put their productivity app on our SmartView so that they could be issued tickets, work tickets on the screen. So a central dispatch could say, okay, you've been working here this afternoon, you're going to go work in this area. And he acknowledges it. And they could enter information. We can have a map for them on the screen where they need to go. So everything that you have in your car, from a GPS, everything else, will be available on SmartView. Today, we have our first 5 modules. We're happy to say that we have our proximity system, our backup camera, we have TPMS, we have the proximity side to it, and circle check, which is basically doing a circle check around your vehicle, make sure all your hoses are correct, entering that information, cataloging it, and um, also card access, which is basically, we call it TBAC, training based access control, where the operator needs to be trained on the vehicle to start it. He comes up with his passcode, which is all his employee information, taps it on the screen, and if he's qualified to operate the vehicle, it'll get him to the next stage to be able to start it. If he's not, he gets a big red X on the screen and tells him to go see his supervisor. Meanwhile, a message gets sent to a supervisor, such and such is trying to access a vehicle. And then you can right away use that in many forms, whether it's for training to understand what the person's function needs to be, why does he need to access it, as well as locating equipment and where's the last point where my piece of equipment was used and by who. So, like I said, SmartView is edge computing device, basically the brains of a machine.
Where are things at, just on scale? You mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot your parent company is, what's their name again?
Schomburg
Schomburg.
Industries.
Yeah. So, they're out of South Africa, right?
They're out of Germany, actually.
Oh, Germany. Sorry. I don't know why I thought South Africa. But
We have an office in South Africa.
oh, okay. So on a scale, some of these products that we've highlighted, where like where are they operating out of? Do you like Latin America, across Canada? Are you out west? Are your helmets on heads out west? What's sort of the setup scale?
Yeah, our helmets are we've sent our helmets to Voisey Bay. That's in the east end of Canada. They purchased over 1,000 of these helmets, and they're deploying them on site. And again, they were thinking of the future because they wanted to have, awareness for the people where they are in the mines for safety reason. Out in the from East Coast all the way to Manitoba is our proximity system. So that's our SmartView technology
Hmm.
has been implemented from the East Coast to basically the Midwest.
Okay.
Our intention is to go into the U.S. Market. That's why we opened with MineConnect in Nevada.
Mm.
because we see the same opportunity in Nevada that we do here in the Sudbury Basin. It's kind of the Elko, Nevada is a bit of a mecca for all the mines in that area, especially Nevada Gold,
Mm.
which is a merger of Newmont Gold and Bear Gold. We see that same kind of opening there that we can help in that situation. And to further that, Jannatec's core competency has always been communication, and the rest came out of those necessities of creating a device that would run over communication. So our core competency is still communication with a flavor of R&D, let's call it.
Mm.
We still maintain a lot of communications for the local mines here in the Sudbury Basin, as well as in the northern part of Ontario.
What are the challenges? I mean, I'm not trying to get into the secret sauce or anything like that, but just when you're trying to, pushing into places like Nevada and that, what are the challenges? Or again, places like Latin America, where obviously you've got the product, you've got the brand. I mean, you have those things already. It's very clear, but are these sort of roadblocks that you're still going to run into and entering and expanding into these markets?
Yeah, yeah. The challenges for Latin America obviously is language barrier, right? So we know our stuff, but they like to deal with people that's local. That's
Mm.
including the U.S. They like to deal with people that are local, and we've seen a few times here in Canada the same thing. But we managed to service them from our Sudbury branch. We are growing as a company. We just recently bought a company in the Hamilton area, a communication company, to further extend our reach,
Mm.
as well as into the different verticals that I was mentioning about transportation
Yeah.
and construction and whatnot. Um, our goal for US is to expand through partnerships and distributorships, where they have a technical group to be able to support the hardware once it's sold, and from a first line of defense, and second line of defense is us from Subway. From the Latin America area is a little harder because of the language barrier. We've been getting a lot of attention because of the MineConnect group uh, from Latin America to partner up with local companies there to implement our proximity system. And the key interest has always been proximity
Mm.
in our SmartView platform, and we're still trying hard to get into that market. It's always about the support, and we made our name on support. We're always there. Like we offer a 24/7 line for our clients to call in, and we offer that next day next day service for our remote clients and same day service for our in town clients here.
Mm.
So as we grow, we will expand our service team as well,
Mm.
because I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah. No.
When you sell a product out there, you need to be able to service it, especially a product that is complex like ours.
Right.
To rely on somebody else to service it, you're not doing yourself a favor. You're not also doing the client a favor by not doing that.
I was on I think I was either on your LinkedIn or the company's LinkedIn. And I saw Jannatec was over at Con Expo. We were there doing our construction series.
Mhm.
And it was just a unbelievably good show. What was that experience for you like coming out of the mining sector, of course, in that context and trying to explore the other industries? What was that show? What were the results of it?
Oh, that show's been very positive. We did that show right before COVID. Actually, we tried by Con Expo right before COVID. It was a very good show. It opened up our eyes where we can adapt our technologies to go
Hmm.
into different verticals. This second time around, our team went down to Con Expo, and again, he said the welcome was unbelievable. He said there was people they didn't stop the whole week they were there,
It was
and there's a
crazy.
lot of interest from the construction industry in our technologies. And it's just basically, like I said, a follow up. We've had a huge interest of Latin American companies, Mexican companies coming up to the Con Expo show because it was
Hmm.
held in Las Vegas. And the same thing, it was just like, we like your product. Can we either represent you, because we have clients that need this product. And like I said, it was a very fruitful show. We're going to continue to do that show and show like them,
Hmm.
which is perhaps in a different vertical that we're not used to. And then we've always gone traditionally to the mining shows, the regular CIMs, the mine expos,
Hmm.
and you have to attend those shows because that is your brand. You're representing your
Yeah.
brand. But to get out into different verticals, you have to take that risk and try go study and learn about different markets through trade shows or through business to business contact.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I was, yeah, I was glad to see that you'd been, in this context, I was glad to see you were there because it was, honestly, I've never been to a show like that. It was crazy how large it was.
Mm.
Um, I'm going to wrap up with this question for you. I've looked sort of, on your LinkedIn, looked at your career, but you're now the president of the company. You're in a space where there's a big push for innovation. It's traditionally mining was, there was that saying that I since have not heard for the last couple years, but first to be second and all that sort of thing. But it has shifted. I really think it has, or is
Mm.
in at very least mid shift. What is sort of your approach in leading your team, making sure products are good, they're ready for the market, that the companies can onboard them. There's not there's not glitches in the system, but you're still pushing that innovation into the market. What is your sort of leadership approach to that balance?
Well, like I said, over the course of my career, I was fortunate enough to work for companies that were all pretty much in the same direction of where I am now, which led me to become president of Jannatec. And I draw from those years of experience and the experience I got from these other companies I worked for, and knowing where the direction of not only mining but where technology is being introduced to help humans realize where they are from an awareness point of view. It gives us a direction to say, okay, we need to do this not only for monetary reasons, but we need to do this as a company or as our civic duty to be able to help people, close and afar, to be aware of their situation. Because I think if we can be part of that, it's a big win for Janatech when we hear that our system helps save somebody's life, or
Mm,
if at the very least was part of saving that person's life, and that's where we thrive for. And under our the way we're going with our company is it's always the same thing. Is yes, you need to innovate, but the word innovation means you're taking risks to develop something new. The problem with developing something new is nobody wants to be the guinea pig. But you developed it and you got to test it, and go through several layers of testing, and then find that one client that's willing to be
mm,
the let's call it the beta tester, and work with you. And that's where our strengths are, has always been, is that we can turn around very quickly and address the situation and make micro changes to the system to refine it and make it
mm,
work better and better. And that's where I think our strengths are. And I think we've maintained that direction going forward, and it helps us now focus of where we want to be in the IoT space, and drawing from where we came from. And everybody makes mistakes, and then you learn from your mistakes and you say, okay, how can I make that different for the future? How can I make this product even better, and employ the technologies that they're used to, so a person can leave his home, get in his car, leave his family, go to work, have all the amenities. He's safe in his car because he's so used to it. Get into his work clothes, get into his work vehicle, do the things he has to do, feel the same way, safe.
mm,
Come back after a shift, come back home, and to me is that person walking back home to his family. That's where I feel
mm.
the most important part of my job is to ensure that that happens.
Right, I can't think of a better place to leave it than right there. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. I hope you're back. We go to all these different events in the U.S., here in Canada. So I hope this is not the last time by any stretch that we talk. But thank you for coming on today,
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
and thank you everybody for watching. We covered a lot of ground. We'll have links to Jannatec, some of the technologies that we covered, and thank you again to Rey. Thank you for watching the MineConnect series, the MineConnect USA series. We're going to have more coming towards you, so please keep watching, subscribing, sharing, and maybe even suggesting who should be on next. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of the MineConnect USA series.